The season-ending championship for open qualifiers could mean a trip to the biggest tournament in bass fishing.
To make it to the big dance is what some people call it. I just call it a dream come true.
80 of the best anglers from around the country will compete in this 4-day contest, but only 5 will make it to the show.
Man, I'd have the classic out of the way if I could pull this off.
Get out of there, girl.
It's that big gorilla. It's not even a monkey. It's a gorilla on your back that I'd be getting rid of that I'd be for sure wouldn't be excited about.
Damn it.
You've got to be in the top 5 to make it to the Bassmaster Classic. And on this weekend, being in the top 5 means making good decisions and dealing with tough conditions.
You can't just sit down and relax and be settled with 10th place or 8th place or 7th place or even 6th place. I mean, you've got to make the top 5.
It would be a chance of a lifetime for me.
To be fishing against the caliber of guys that are out here is, it's tough.
In this place, finding fish under normal circumstances can be difficult. But throw in heavy rains and rising water, and you've got a difficult test.
Hey, oh, he broke me off.
Hold on to your seat because there's a lot on the line. It's the Open Championship.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is presented by Busch.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Welcome to the brand new season of the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. I'm Tommy Sanders, along with Jerry McInnis. And Jerry, we're starting out with a pretty darn important event, the Open Championship.
Got a lot of things to talk about here today, but none of them more important than the fact that we have 5 free passes to hand out to 5 lucky anglers going to the big show.
That's right. At the end of the day, the top 5 guys are going to the Classic this summer in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Open Championships, well, the Open Divisions, just below the Citgo Bassmaster Tour. There are 4 Open Divisions, and the top 20 performers from each one of the divisions are going to this Open Championship here. Let's take a look at those divisions. We have a Central, a Northern, a Western, and a Southern Open. And Jerry, when we look at the Southern Open, let's look at the guys who finished in the top 5 in that Southern Open. Greg Hackney, Stephen Browning, Paul Elias, Rick Clunn, Tim Horton. We said it was just below the Tour. This is guys from the Tour.
I know where you're going.
Some people are saying, hey, what are all these big names down here fishing in our Open for?
Well, I tell you what, those guys quit fishing in August. What do you want them to do, sit home from August up to January? This is kind of their spring training. But this is what they do. They fish in tournaments. They're competitive. They're professional bass fishermen. Let them out there. I think if anybody complains about them being in there, they shouldn't be in there themselves.
Well, the good news for us is we have a great feel for this Open Championship. Let's go back again to the top of that Southern Open list. Greg Hackney, he's going to be a big factor in this tournament, and he is probably, wouldn't you agree, the hottest angler in bass fishing right now?
I swore I would not talk about Greg Hackney. Right off the bat, Greg Hackney. He is so hot, though, we have to talk about him. And you're going to tell me his accomplishments here in a second, but I keep thinking about the 2 or 3 fish that he lost last year. On camera, we saw it. That would have given him a monster year. As it was awful good.
Yeah, if he caught those fish, he probably would have had 2 wins. As it is, he was the 2004 Rookie of the Year. As we say, 2 other second-place finishes. 4th place in the E50s. What can you say about this guy? And we're going to contest it at a place he used to live just 45 minutes away from, the Quachita River, as it runs through northern Louisiana here. We're fishing about from the Arkansas border down below Monroe, and there he is, the top of the first day leaderboard, the man himself, now from Gonzales, Louisiana, Greg Hackney.
5 fish, 16 pounds, 9 ounces.
16 pounds and 9 ounces leads the way on day number 1, followed by Hawkins. Tommy Martin also in there. Cliff Pace, who won a tournament in the Central Division this year. Now let's take a look at the day 2 leaderboard. After 2 days of fishing, it's still Hackney, 26 pounds even, almost a 3-pound lead over Bradley Stringer, his nearest pursuer.
The practice that I had initially a month ago before the tournament waters went off limits was excellent. 7-8 feet of water from then till now has created somewhat of a havoc, so I had to scramble in the 3 days here and try to figure out where these fish move to and just try to follow them.
When fishing is done on this 3rd day, the top 5 anglers are going to the Citgo Bassmaster Classic this summer. The man in 5th place, the man who's got to hang on, is Oklahoma's Edwin Evers.
I'll let you know here in about 8 hours. I'm going to go give it all I got. I promise you that. Lay it all on the line.
Greg Hackney leading the way, starting the day with the lead on this 3rd day of competition. What we haven't mentioned yet, Jerry, is the main condition they're dealing with. Lots of water. It has rained like crazy for the past 2 weeks.
Lots of water, are you kidding me? I think it's rained 10 out of the last 12 days, rained 1.5 inches the last 2 practice days, and the water is actually coming up 1 foot every day. And so that obviously is a real challenge to the guys. And in any bass tournament, anywhere, when this happens, most of the field goes right down the tube because the fish start moving, and they're moving in water that's not just rising, but it's spreading out. And where you had 50 fish in an acre yesterday, now you have 50 fish in 2 acres or maybe 3 acres with more brush and cover to deal with. Sure, they'll still bite. You know what? They sometimes will even bite better in this type of water. But now they're 10 times harder to find. So as I said, rising water is a challenge to a bass fisherman.
One thing about rising water, it does allow you to get back further into places. Let's take a look at the track of Chris Baumgardner, 3 pounds, 5 ounces behind Hackney on this 3rd day of competition. He starts out from Monroe and goes about 25 miles north to a place called Devil's Hole.
So every day is a new day. Regardless of what happened yesterday, the water came up another foot, the fish probably moved either in that brush or out of the brush. You just have to figure it out all over every single day. So if you make the finals, if you get in the top guys, then you have to realize that when you go back out there, it's going to be completely different, and you have to start all over again.
Chris Baumgardner from the Lake Wiley area out there in North Carolina, of course, where they had the Bassmaster Classic this past year.
And Chris has chosen to...
Oh, he broke me off.
Oh
no.
He's flipping those bushes right over there, and seemed like a pretty good fish. Chris is right on the bubble here. He's in 4th going into this day. So, wow, that can really be heavy for a guy.
And trying to hang in there. Chris, of course, tried to hang in there for the Classic, but all the crowds, all the situation on Lake Wiley sort of turned his lake upside down. And all the weather and the pressure of being in the Final 5 seems to have turned things around for him today.
That was a 4-pounder.
We're going to see if Chris Baumgardner can recoup, get it back together, maybe catch a 4-pounder. That would certainly help his cause today. How about this guy, our winner from the tour last year at Lake Eufaula, Edwin Evers. He's the bubble boy in 5th place, and you know he is feeling it.
There's a big old bullseye on my head. I promise you.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Citgo and in part by Bush, by Berkeley Trilene, and by Purolator.
Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail, and this is the Open Championship. Our best open anglers from the 2004 season having their championship here on the Washita River, Monroe, Louisiana. And after today, the top 5 in this competition on the pro side will have secured a place in the Classic.
I fished to finish 5th. I'm not fishing to win. I'm not fishing for anything else but to finish 5th place. You know, to get in that top 5 is what I'm meaning by that. And I've been in a little area where I hadn't been culling any fish. You know, I had a number in my mind coming into this tournament what it'd take to finish 5th, and that's what I'm trying to get the most out of my fish to get to 5th place. You know, that's my goal.
Oklahoma's Edwin Evers wants to finish in 5th place. All he has to do is maintain his position. He starts this Day 3 competition on the bubble in 5th.
It'd be the best place to be in the world after today. But up until that point, it ain't that good of a spot to be. There's a big old bullseye on my head. I promise you.
I'll tell you what, first time I ever saw Edwin Evers, I think we were covering him in an open event up on the Lake of the Ozarks. That was probably 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, and he made the finals. He was on camera. He got skunked, as I remember. He didn't catch a fish, but there was just something about the way he handled his boat and the way he handled his equipment and fish that I really thought this kid was going to be something. He certainly hasn't let us down, has he?
Edwin Evers, yeah, finished 3rd in the Central Division this year, had himself a win on Rayburn.
Yesterday. Throwing that spinnerbait all the way down through here, and I missed that fish yesterday on a spinnerbait, and I was going to give him something different to look at this morning. So I threw my black neon tube in there, and man, I was sitting there bumping it for quite a while, and I was about to take it out, and that's when he hit it. Always feels good to get that first one in the boat.
Edwin Evers started the day in 5th place, trying to hang on to that 5th place spot. The top 5 after today's fishing are going to the Classic, remember. Let's look at the guys who were in pursuit of Edwin Evers today. One of them, this man, started out the day in 6th place, Kurt Johnson of Iowa, another one of the guys whom the rising water affected.
And I'm sure they'll look back on their fishing day and second-guess themselves. This was the only fish he caught during the day, and he's flipping bushes, and you have to wonder if a search bait or a bait that you fish a lot faster, like a crankbait or a spinnerbait, might have done a little bit better.
Chris Lane, tough luck for him as well. He struggled, a man from Winter Park, Florida. Couldn't adjust to the conditions either. He landed 1 fish, 2.5 pounds.
Also flipping bushes, and boy, it all looks so bassy back there, but that's a problem. There's so much new water that they just couldn't find the right spot.
Chris Lane finished 20th. He was the last man in from that Southern Division, and he's had a good tournament here, so he's not totally disappointed. But this guy was disappointed first thing this morning, missing that 4-pounder. Chris Baumgardner, he would go on to only catch 2 fish, small fish, weighed 1 pound 10 ounces between them, but he hung on to that 5th qualifying spot for the Classic. That was the important thing to do on this day. The other anglers in the top 10, well, Chip Hawkins didn't make it. Chip Hawkins of White Hall, Arkansas, had a great first day. Art Berry, also the Western Open Division winner from out in California, in spot number 9. In 10th place, one of our big names, Peter Silveros. But Edwin Evers, he was the only angler who would really strike and strike big late in the day. In fact, he makes a move for first place. 4 fish for him, 7 pounds, 13 ounces.
And I was saying a minute ago that Johnson and Lane shouldn't have been flipping bushes, but boy, here Edwin is doing that. He's doing very well at it.
Well, let's take a look at our first and second day leader, Greg Hackney, trying to hang on to that lead.
You need 8 pounds and 14 ounces to get up on top of the leaderboard where you belong. Let's see what you got. 7 pounds, 13 ounces gets you a close second right here. Tomorrow, the day that'll get you back up there, but the most important part, you locked up this top 5, and you locked up that Classic spot before the season even starts.
Yeah, that was, you know, that's really a plus, you know, come into next year and not have to worry about making a Classic, but, you know, right now I'm thinking about something else, so I'm not really going to worry about that right now.
What you thinking about right now?
There's 1 day left.
This guy never quits, does he? A little bonus money.
Greg Hackney now in 2nd place. I know he doesn't particularly like that. The man in the lead right now, Bradley Stringer, 34 pounds and 13 ounces. That's about a 1 pound lead over Greg Hackney going into the final day of fishing. Well, let's take a look at this full list of 5 anglers who have made the Classic from this tournament. Stringer, Hackney, Edwin Evers, Cliff Pace, Chris Baumgardner, of course, we've got to include, also qualified for the Classic so far. Last year's champ, the defending champ, is going to be Takahiro Omori. Last year's Angler of the Year, that, of course, is Gerald Swindle. Let's go through these 5 guys, though, who've made it from this tournament. That's a pretty big deal so early in the year. Start with Chris Baumgardner. A pretty good, solid career. This will be his 4th Classic coming up here, so he's happy about that. What do we know about the guy from Petal, Mississippi, Cliff Pace?
I'll tell you what, I'm proud of him. He did it the way you're supposed to do it. He fished as a non-boater, as an amateur in the back of the boat, I think 3 times, and said, I don't want any part of this. I want the front of the boat. So he became a pro. His 2nd event out on Rayburn, he won.
Living the dream. Edwin Evers, he's been to the Classic before, no stranger.
Well, he became a pro in 2000 and has been there every year. So, boy, what a streak he's got going.
Absolutely. Greg Hackney, well, he's made the Classic. That doesn't surprise anybody, right? No?
Hey, I tell you what, though, differing from everybody else, I don't think he's so wrapped up in having already made the Classic. I think he wants to win this event more than anything else.
And Bradley Stringer, what do we know about Bradley Stringer?
Bradley Stringer is from Jasper, Texas. So that puts him right in the middle of Rayburn and Toledo Bend, and that's where he has fished an awful lot. He's won a lot of tournaments around there locally, fished with his dad in team tournaments a lot. He might be the next Greg Hackney.
He could be, especially when you look at this statistic. Bradley Stringer has started 6 events as a pro. He's finished in the money 5 of those 6 events. This guy's got a per tournament average of $9,100. A lot of folks would like to have that average right there. Well, stay with us. Now we got 5 guys qualified for the Classic, 5 guys qualified for the final day, and a lot more action yet to come. The pressure's off. These guys are ready to swing for the fencing. Welcome back. You're watching the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail, and our opener for this season is going to be the Open Championship. The top performers from the Open divisions across the country throughout the past season. We've been fishing here for 4 days now, fishing on the Quachita River out of Monroe, Louisiana. The Quachita River, which comes out of the Quachita Mountains in Arkansas, basically goes diagonally across that state. We're fishing about a 100-mile stretch of the Quachita River here in northern Louisiana. Monroe, Louisiana is our takeoff point. We're down to the final 5 on this last day, Jerry, but the important thing to remember is we're about 5 feet higher water-wise than when they started this tournament.
Coming up a foot a day, it's just unbelievable. And the good news is the water isn't cold. It's around 57 degrees. Boy, cold rising water is the worst, but at least it is an acceptable temperature. And this water is spreading out, like I said earlier. Yeah, it's rising, it's coming up, but that isn't the problem. It's spreading out becomes a problem because the fish will go back in the bushes, go back in places where the anglers can't even get, or they might not. They might get out in open water. There's no telling what they'll do.
That's the challenge for our final 5 today as we start the takeoff. Greg Hackney, let's take a look at him. He started off this tournament as the leader, caught the biggest stringer of fish so far, in fact, in this tournament. Now he's in second place. We watched Greg Hackney's takeoff from Monroe, Louisiana. He's going about 30 miles north, as all our anglers are doing, going north to a place called Pace Lake.
Well, I'm not real sure Greg Hackney can do it, but I can guarantee you this, he is working at it. You talk about a focused fisherman, Tommy, a guy who is in the moment, as they say. You know what? The evening before, Greg was throwing a jig and flipping bushes, and when he was reeling in his jig, got it close to the boat, a bass came up and hit it. That's the reason he started with this buzzbait in the morning.
I watched it yesterday. I was like, he's getting right. Man, that sucker got it. That was my fault. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to get that trolling motor right. I should have never threw on that piece of wood.
That's one guy you won't catch not paying attention very often. He's usually on top of things, and we should pay attention now because according to him, it's about to start happening.
Well, I'm very impressed that he has started the morning with a buzzbait. Of course, that strike that he had on his jig told him that the fish might be a little more active than he might think and that they would come up on the surface. And of course, a buzzbait is a lure that fishes just below the surface, and its blade throws a lot of water, makes a lot of racket, and you can definitely get a reaction strike. And a reaction strike is a strike that a fish makes sometimes without even knowing that he did it. You know what I mean? He just knows that came in his area, it doesn't belong, and bam,
wow, look at that.
I need to get it out of there. Boy, how about that?
Look at there.
It's going to be a good keeper, the first fish of the day for Greg Hackney. That fish 2 pounds, 5 ounces, and that will give him the lead now with 36.5 pounds.
The cold front we initially had the first day of the tournament really was pretty good because it bunched the fish up really well. Second day was still decent, and the third day was a little slimmer, but it was still good. So
Bradley Stringer has been the picture of consistency throughout this tournament. 12-11 on day 1. Day 2, 11 pounds and 2 ounces. Another 11-pound stringer on day number 3 for Stringer.
Well, it's going to be just I think maybe today more so than anything, just a matter of patience and a timing thing. I've just got 3 places, and that's what I'm going to fish. I know the fish are circulating through it. I'm fishing one main creek, and I've got 3 different places off of that creek where I feel like the fish were funneling to with the rising water. So this is one of them.
Bradley Stringer from Huntington, Texas. He says this place, for some reason, reminds him of his home water on Lake Rayburn. This place especially must. Bayou Darbon, that's where he is fishing today.
And I mentioned that I thought Greg Hackney made a very good choice throwing that buzzbait. I think Bradley's doing the right thing here, throwing a Carolina rig. Carolina rig doesn't fish quite as fast as a buzzbait or a crankbait or something like that. But boy, it fishes a little faster than flipping bushes, and it really covers a lot of ground. And right now he's throwing a 1-ounce slip sinker on his Carolina rig. The bait that he's using is a little Zoom centipede. He's using a Zoom lizard as well, and he's fishing in 6 or 7 feet of water.
Bradley has fished in 6 Bassmaster events, all of them open events. In those events, he's made the money in all but one. That is a strong record right there. Now back over to Edwin Evers, and he's taken a really different tack, hasn't he? For Bradley Stringer, Edwin Evers is back up among the salad in there.
Well, you know what? He's always back in the brush. Every time we see him,
That's
he's
right.
back in the
think
brush.
you follow anyone?
Yeah, he doesn't. It doesn't matter whether the water's high or not. No, he has taken a little bit different approach. He's trying the shallow stuff.
Come here, fish. Come here, girl. Come here. Stay on there. Stay on there. Gotcha. Man, I think they've moved in farther. All right.
Edwin Evers, you mentioned the last time we saw him, he was way back up near the bank. Here he is again, and the last time we saw him, he was doing that same sort of thing. He was sort of in some impossible position, trying to dig a fish out of there.
All we could see was his fanny as he was reaching down in a log.
Well, I tell you what, he chooses to fish back in there, but he's good at putting those fish in the boat. We will continue to watch Edwin Evers. We will also find out what is happening with this rising water, more in depth, when we come back, and there's more rain on the way. A lot more action left as we continue here on the Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail. Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail, we're kicking off our season with the Open Championship. Top 20 anglers from each of the 4 open divisions come together here on the Washita River, Monroe, Louisiana, to duel it out for bragging rights for some pretty good prize money and 5 spots in the Classic. Today's the day when you make that top 5, and right now we are watching the path of Chris Baumgardner of Gastonia, North Carolina, fishing a spot called the Devil's Hole. Chris in 5th now after 3 days of fishing.
And as I look at this water, Tommy, you know, it looks like a new lake. It looks like water that has just come up. It's back in the green timber, and it just reminds me of many years ago when we used to fish Rayburn and Toledo Bend and all as they was rising. And at that time, we used to fish tree lines and brush lines, and you'll see that a lot of guys are doing that here today. A lot of guys like Edwin Evers are back in the brush, but they're still kind of working over. Boy, that was a good fish. That will help him a lot. But they are working the edges an awful lot. And you know what? Hackney was fishing with a buzz bait. He was fishing the surface. A lot of other guys are flipping tubes and throwing jigs. They're fishing on the bottom. The problem here, something we haven't really talked about, is the fact that a lot of these fish suspend. And boy, they are the hardest things to find because, you know, you don't know where they're suspended at. Are they in the middle? Are they 5 feet off the bottom? Are they 3 feet below the surface? Just imagine how much more water you have to go through to find suspended fish. And that's what many of these fish could be doing right now. They're roaming so much, and boy, they can go out in a suspended spot, another good fish right there. And they can go out and suspend and stay there for several hours. And really one of the better baits to catch them on is a spinner bait or a crankbait, because you're getting in more of those suspending depths. If you want to fish a little slower, use that Carolina rig.
What I was fortunate to be able to do was I picked one main area that I liked with several of the two of the major creeks, and found fish on both of them. And then when the water came up, I thought, well, darn, because I knew that was going to take the fish and scatter them everywhere. But what helped was having a visual of what everything looked like, beforehand. So when I came back, I knew exactly where I wanted to go. And the reason I related this to Rayburn is because this typically happens. We get rising water, and the fish, even though they may not be pre-spawn right now, they're ready. They've only got 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks maybe. But with the rising water, they're ready to do it.
12 inches, the length limit here on the Washita River, so that one is going to keep for Bradley Stringer. Bradley Stringer, again, fishing up Darbone Bayou here.
And he's using both the techniques we were just talking about there. He is throwing his Carolina rig, which is covering the bottom, of course, and he's throwing a spinnerbait occasionally, and so that's covering anywhere from 5 to, say, 6, 7 foot of water. He's not fishing much deeper than 7, and he is fishing those tree lines. He's really staying on that tree line, and when fish are moving, a lot of the times they use the tree line for their paths. Sometimes they actually don't get back in the brush.
That's what that spinnerbait will do for you. Of course, it does help when they're schooling or coming up, but...
So Bradley Stringer continues to do the job he came here to do today. That is, hang on to that lead, maybe notch a win at this Open Championship here. So Jerry McInnis, why don't we take our Citgo bass eye view and look at this spot he's fishing.
Well, look at that spot. Boy, it's a bassy looking place, isn't it? Got the high line clearing going up through here. Here comes a creek channel, farming next right there. And when he originally found these fish, his boat was in the center, and the fish were out here in about 5 feet of water. So up comes that water, and now he has to adjust. He's still fishing this tree line. Actually found some of these fish behind him on the other tree line. The other anglers are back here in the bushes and in different places. Bradley chose to stay out there in the open water a little longer.
Today's Bass Eye View was brought to you by Citgo.
They're going to stay on that level that they feel comfortable or feel comfortable they just want to be in. So obviously they're moving for their own reasons, plus following the food chain. There he is right there, baby. Come on, baby, come on.
Now Bradley Stringer is starting to put some fish in the boat. Bradley Stringer, again, started this day with a 1-pound lead over Greg Hackney. Greg Hackney, of course, a guy you'd rather have a whole lot more pounds lead over to start the final day, but now starting to get the rhythm of things, and Bradley Stringer, who's been so consistent, is looking good at this point.
And I don't claim to be an authority on Bradley because I haven't seen him very much. But the thing that occurs to me right off the bat is how slow and thorough and steady he is out there in the boat. That's how it feels to me anyway. He really takes his time. It looks like he's fishing real carefully. You know what? It looks like he's fishing like Greg Hackney does every now and then. And remember earlier this morning, we caught Greg throwing a buzzbait right off the bat. I don't think that lasted a long time, and he kind of settled down and went back into his real strength, which is flipping that jig. But Tommy, I have to tell you, man, I had the opportunity to fish with Greg a little bit this late fall, and I've never fished with anybody that fished so. I don't like to use the word slow because it makes it sound like he's dull. He just is so thorough and watches everything and is so careful, doesn't miss a twig or a place to pitch his jig, and I think that's why he is so good.
We'll stick around. There's more of Greg Hackney coming up. We're going to take a look at Cliff Pace, another young rookie, a young phenomenon who's going to make some waves in the Bassmasters world. That's all when we return to the Washita River, the Open Championship on the Citgo Bassmasters Tournament Trail.
Get out there, girl.
We're back on the Washita River, Monroe, Louisiana, and the Open Championship. This is the final day of fishing. Only 5 anglers remain in the competition, and we are down to the last, well, less than an hour of fishing time left. We're looking at one of those guys in contention, Cliff Pace, Petal, Mississippi. We've already mentioned what an impressive career this young, true rookie has put on. He's only fished in 10 Bassmasters events. He's already won one. That's incredible. Started out fishing as a co-angler in the back of the boat.
And guess what? He's qualified for the Classic. Both he and Bradley Stringer, 2 rookies, have already qualified for the Classic. And again, all 5 of our finalists today, you know, they're kind of fishing. I wouldn't say they were completely fishing for pride because there's some money involved here too, but they have qualified for the Classic already.
Come here, fish. Enough of this is enough now. Oh, thank you.
That's a good fish right there. It's going to take several more good ones for Cliff Pace. He's a good ways back of our leader, Brad Stringer. Bradley Stringer with 41.5 pounds. He's taken the lead. Kept it away from Greg Hackney, 38.5. Hackney's got a shot at him. Edwin Evers a good ways back at 31, and Chris Baumgardner also a good ways back.
Greg Hackney is becoming famous for coming in second, isn't he?
He is. He does not want another second place. He wants a win or nothing else. Over to Chris Baumgardner now from Gastonia, North Carolina. Has had a good tournament. Good first couple of days. On day 3, though, the bottom kind of dropped out on him. He only caught 2 fish, a pound 10 ounces. But today, he's having a pretty darn good day.
Well, he has qualified for the Classic as well. You know, every angler we're watching today has pulled that trick off. And, man, Tommy, that's the biggest thing that can happen to a bass fisherman, is the fish in the Bassmaster Classic. And you fight all year long to get to that point. And so these guys actually fish really hard in the fall to make this championship. Then it gets down to a point where the top 5 guys are going to not make a shortcut, but they do, boy, they do get into the Classic before the tour season starts, and what a relief that has to be.
A lot of people predicting a blow-up year, a big breakout year for Chris Baumgardner. A lot of people predicted it last year because the Classic coming to his home lake there, Lake Wiley in South Carolina. But there's so many things that happen around a Classic, so many things that make it not your home lake anymore. Number 1, boat traffic, which was huge on Lake Wiley.
Well, he did have kind of a rough tournament there. I know he's very disappointed. His friends and family was there watching him, and it just didn't happen for him. But one of these days, he's gonna hit it, Tommy. You just watch and see.
You saw him catch his 4th, 5th, and 6th fish there. He's up to 34 pounds now. Now Edwin Evers, who's really got to work hard if he wants to climb back into this.
And he is working hard, isn't he? Here's Edwin Evers for you, just back in the brush and the nastiest stuff he can get involved with. And boy, that is tough. It's tough fishing in that kind of water because you can't get your lure in there correctly. You don't get a good feel of your bait as it's falling. And so you're kind of asking for it when you get in those situations. However, that's the place that you're going to find these fish. And Edwin's a river rat. He's going to be in those tight spots.
Oh, he missed that one, though. Sound effects courtesy of Edwin Evers. That's the sound of a missed fish. I never realized that.
No, actually, Oklahoma guys just make weird noises with their mouths at times as they're bass fishing.
Kind of weird trolling motor noises. I liked it, though. All right, back over to Greg Hackney
Get serious. Get serious.
Oh, man, this guy is. When he gets to flipping, you don't hear a word from him.
Yeah, you don't hear a word from him. You don't see his eyes leave the area where his bait's at. Although he is very aware of everything that's going on around him, he's just what you would call focused. And as I said earlier, I think this is what makes Greg Hackney so successful and really different from some of the other guys that you see. He is really into doing it thoroughly.
Well, he just missed Citgo Angler of the Year last year. Most say he is the hottest angler around. He's only won, though, 1 tournament, an open tournament, and ironically, that one on Lake Quachita, which is the source of this river up in the state of Arkansas.
And I hadn't seen the bait he was fishing with, but I would have bet my life it was a greenish jig with a green trailer.
Now I just need them 2 bites, them 2 big bites. Gotta have 2 good bites now to have a shot. I mean, I'm satisfied with my 3 keepers. You know, now I need 2 good bites.
Greg Hackney just a couple of pounds back of this man right here, Bradley Stringer. So once again, it could come down to the final fish.
I have no clue what it's going to take to win this thing. There's one right there. Come on, stay with it. Good fish. Come on, he feels good. I can't tell. I have no clue what it's going to take to win this thing. I just knew that whenever I came into it, I thought if I could catch 10 to 12 pounds across the board for 4 days that I would end up somewhere pretty good.
Consistency has been this guy's middle name, Bradley Stringer. Now check this out, has caught a limit each day. Day 1, 12 pounds, 11 ounces, 11:02 on day 2, 11 pounds even on day number 3. He's got his limit today. In conditions like this, you got to love the chances of a guy who can pull that off. Anyway, we're about to find out. The fishing time is coming to an end. Stringer, Hackney, the weigh-in is coming up next. We are back and ready to go with our weigh-in at this Open Championship. We're in Monroe, Louisiana on the Quachita River. It has been a battle royal between two strong young anglers. Maybe the hottest angler in the world, Greg Hackney, started the day in second place, just a pound behind Brad Stringer. And now we're going to weigh him in and see who's the winner of this championship.
Well, things were supposed to be a lot more calm for the final day weigh-in. After all, on day 3, these guys had separated themselves from the field and claimed the 5 slots in the Bassmaster Classic. Maybe it was just a formality for Cliff Pace and Chris Baumgardner, who started the day 10 pounds or more behind the leader, really didn't have a realistic chance.
Oh, yeah.
But for Bradley Stringer and Greg Hackney, the win would be a big deal. A career builder for Stringer, if not a career maker, if he could beat a field this strong. And for Hackney, well, missing 2004 Angler of the Year by 3 points, 21 paychecks out of 26 entries with Bass, 9 top 10 finishes in the past year, including 3 second places. Suffice to say, he did not want to be known as the guy who dominated but couldn't win one this year. Edwin Evers started the day with a possible shot at it, but 7 pounds 2 ounces on the final day wouldn't get it. Stringer may have started the day with a 1 pound lead, but he was up against the hottest angler in bass fishing. You don't want to give Greg Hackney 4 days to figure out any water, regardless of how tough the conditions are. Bradley Stringer could only sit and watch as Greg Hackney weighed them in.
8 pounds and an ounce and a brand new leader. Hackney back on top.
Hackney with 8 pounds 2 ounces, a big sigh of relief for Bradley. A solid limit will win a tournament on the last day when conditions are tough. Bradley Stringer did not falter.
11 pounds, 2 ounces, ladies and gentlemen.
He's the Open champion for 2004.
Bradley Stringer with the Open Championship. He gets his first Bassmaster win of his career. And we've said it about other guys, Jerry, but I'm going to get to be the first guy to say it about him. That's not the last time we're going to see that guy in the winner's circle. That's my prediction.
Here's what impressed me. I've always said that catching fish is pretty easy. Catching a bass is easy. Finding out where he's at is the tough part. And the conditions were the worst they could possibly be, and Bradley pulled it off.
Oh, yeah, he did it in fine style as well. Some more Bradley Stringer statistics. Take a look at this. Now he's had 6 for 7 entries in the Bassmaster tournaments, 6 times in the money out of 7 entries. His average now, $15,250 per tournament. Wow. That is very, very strong.
And speaking of averages,
we've got some new stats we're going to roll out this year. I know you were going to talk about that.
Okay.
Tell us about it.
Every angler has the opportunity to bring in 5 fish during a tournament day, right? If he caught 3 fish in those 5 fish, he would have a batting average of 600.
All right.
Okay, Bradley had the opportunity to bring in 60 fish during the open season, and he brought in 56 fish. So his average is?
933, a 933. That's kind of outside the baseball universe.
Blew Albert Pujols away,
man, absolutely. Strong stuff for Bradley Stringer. Let's go down the list. Greg Hackney batting .883 through the Open Series. Baumgardner, 733. Edwin Evers, 783. And Pace, a 709.
So we're gonna follow that through the tours and have some fun with it.
I think it's going to match up with money won in a big way.
I bet it will.
Some other very important numbers from this tournament are Purolator, big bass of the tournament, Larry Cundiff, 6 pounds and 4 ounces. He caught that on day 1 of the competition on the non-boater side. Larry Cundiff would finish the tournament in 3rd place behind the non-boater champion. That was Wade Grooms. His 3-day catch for Wade Grooms, 18 pounds and 12 ounces. Wade fished the final non-boater day with none other than, you guessed it, that would be Bradley Stringer. Also, one angler from this tournament has qualified for the Bush Shootout. That would be our man, Greg Hackney, 16 pounds, 9 ounces, also on the first day. He may not think so much of it now, but come next fall, he'll be happy.
It'd be big.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at the winning combinations from the past season from 2004. And also, Jerry McInnis is going to give us his 5 keys to consistency for the new year. Don't miss it.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail is brought to you by Mercury Marine and in part by Lowrance and by Motor Guide.
The Citgo Bassmaster Tournament Trail, Bradley Stringer is your Open champion. We congratulate him on that. And Jerry McInnis, the rest of these guys, and Bradley Stringer have the whole season ahead of them on the Citgo Bassmaster Tour. And I know you've been scratching a few things down, scratching your head a little bit. And Jerry has come up with his 5 keys to consistency for these anglers throughout the season. Why don't you share those with us? Well,
I think the goal of most anglers is to hover around that top 10 all during the season. If you do that, then you got a good shot at being Angler of the Year, you got a good shot at the Classic, and you got a good shot at being in the E50s. So here are 5 good keys for staying in that top 10. Number 1 would be to practice well, practice smart. There's only 3 days of practice, so you got to use your time very wisely. Number 2 is, boy, I look at the schedule and I realize that all 6 of our events could be involved with spawning. So you better be tuned into sight fishing and fishing for spawning bass. Number 3 would be to find and learn how to fish grass correctly. Boy, in the last few years, that has been a big deal for many of our anglers. And this one you'll find kind of interesting. I think during the 6 event tour, every angler who makes that top 10 will possibly catch 6 fish 4 pounds or better. Spread out across the 6 events now. And number 5 is, boy, this is a killer for some guys at times. Don't let your equipment break down. That's something that just happens. You can't let it happen.
You have to avoid that. Those are interesting things to look at. Well, let's talk about now the guys who maybe took those keys last year and got into the winning combinations during the 2004 season. We'll take a look at the guys who really made those winning situations pay, starting with George COCHRAN down on Lake Guntersville in Alabama.
And guess what he was doing? He was fishing the grass, and he knows how to fish that grass. And he got to fishing it with a jerk bait and got on a pattern of throwing it out there and just letting it sit. And George is, as you know, such a patient guy anyway. He had the patience to let it sit like that, and it ended up being, well, Tom, he almost broke some records.
He was closing in on 100 pounds, and George, the most laid-back guy on earth. I've never seen him so physically excited in his entire life. And who wouldn't be in a day like that?
Burn a gallon of gas the whole tournament.
That's the way to do it. Well, let's go to Mark Davis. Mark Davis, who won his very first regular season tour event on Table Rock Lake up in Missouri.
I'm casting my lure over there. It's my lure's probably hitting in 25. But the key is to get that lure down and come up over that rock ledge with it. And if you can do that, every now and then, one of those big fish will bite.
Mark Davis had a very unusual technique on Table Rock. He's fishing in Missouri almost to the Arkansas line, but you normally take a crankbait and throw it in shallow water and bring it out into deep water. Mark found this great ledge. He was throwing his bait into deep water, 25, 30 feet, and bringing it to the shallow water and up and over that ledge, and boy, did it pay off.
Yeah, it was a winning combination for Mark Davis. He won that tournament, as we mentioned. He went on and won 2 more tournaments out on the E50 circuit during that year. What a winning year for Mark Davis. You talk about another guy who had a winning year. Won the E50 championship, and that would be Kevin VANDAM, and he wrapped that up out of Paducah, Kentucky on the Ohio, Cumberland, and Tennessee rivers. Found him a spot on the Tennessee River, not too far from the dam, and really went to work there.
Why it's been so good for me and keeps replenishing is because it's a really major eddy. If you look, this is upstream here, there's a really sharp rocky point that comes out there and sends the current off across this way, and the current actually boils back and heads upriver right here. The key is there's a little gravel flat out there that the fish can pull up on. Because there's this eddy here, you know, it gives them a spot where they don't have to fight the current all the time. And these fish there's a lot of deep rocks here. I'm out here in 20, 25 foot of water. And when they're resting, that's where those fish are at.
These big boys can just about do anything, I'm telling you. Kevin knows how to fish eddy. He knows how to fish current. And Tommy, we've looked at 3 different techniques now, and every one of them have been different.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at a different one yet. Let's go up to Smith Lake in Alabama. Definitely a cold, cold weekend. And Charlie Weir is there in that deep water of that mountain lake. And he's got something else, another challenge to face there.
That's a $100,000 fish right there.
Well, the different techniques are very unusual, and I think the viewers ought to really get a feel for how good these anglers are at finding these places. Charlie Weir found some fish in a brush pile in about 40 feet of water, and he used real light equipment, a little finesse worm, and the brush pile was under a dock, and he had to actually push up against the dock with the boat to get it out of the way to make a cast.
Unbelievable. Charlie Weir, a first-time winner there, and now the ultimate winning combination from 2004. It has to be the man. Takahiro Omori came to this country 12 years ago with little going on and has risen to the top of the pro fishing world. Lake Wiley, South Carolina, final day of competition. He's in touch with the leaders, but he's a few pounds back. He fishes hard all day. It goes upriver there on Lake Wiley. And finally, in the last fishing period of the day, about the last 30, 40 minutes, he makes a move.
He makes a move, and one of the most impressive things to me as I look back on that is him taking that rod and reel out of the rod box and getting ready to throw this little square-billed crankbait in 3 or 4 feet of water, and it actually changed Takahiro's life probably forever.
Big one. All right. God, big one, God. That's 5-pounder. Just see how they eat it. Okay, this is a 5-pounder. Ah, another one. This is a fish I need. Yes, yeah!
Takahiro Omori, no doubt about it, probably one of the most popular classic winners of all time. And those were our winning combinations from 2004. We start seeing what the winning combinations from 2005 are going to be here at the end of the month down at Lake Toho when the tour begins.
I predict some heavy weights, but I always do.
Yeah, you do. You do, in fact. And Lake Toho is known for that sort of thing. We will have full coverage of our first tour event of the year from Lake Toho down in Florida, Saturday, February 5th, 10 a.m. We will see you then.
Get in the boat there, baby.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to Bassmaster.com.
That's all, but he's big.